so I had to create a system for myself so that I would be able to bring my best talents every day to my work, as well as take care of myself better.
Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to Masters in Fitness Business Podcast, where you get to stand on the shoulders of giants. And on this episode, I have a returning giant, and Lisa Kuntz. And what is your last name now?
Adewusi.
Adewusi, Lisa Adewusi. I wasn't going to attempt that without some tutoring. She is a return guest, and I am a big fan of Lisa. She was one of the first clients at Catalyst. And she helped me quite a bit because she does kind of a marketing PR firm. But more than that, she really helped our team with some mindset. When she first came up with these move books, I used them a lot because it helped me journal, helped me kind of compartmentalize and go into the day being proactive instead of reactive. And then she worked with our team and really got our team through a tough time. So I've known Lisa for a long time. I'm a big fan of hers, and I know that she personally uses these move books, and now she's gearing up for a big commercial release of the move books. So Lisa, welcome to the show. Welcome back, I should say.
Thanks for having me, Jim. It's great to see you.
Yeah, it's always good to see you. And I know you've been busy. You've got the launch of the move books going on. You've got What Drives Winning. That's still going on. You guys are about to publish a new book in that series and a new course along with it, talking about environment. So we have a lot to dig into and lots of good stuff. So so let's jump into it. Let's jump into first the move books. You know, I know that you first use them. I think when you realized you needed the move books, I think you told me you were in a coffee shop and you were updating a client's website and then realized that you didn't have your own website because you were so busy working on your clients. And then I'll let you take it from there.
You have excellent memory, Jim. I'm impressed.
Oh thanks.
Yeah, I realized, whenever you're trying to start anything big, or trying to do anything big, there's a million things that need to get done. And at that point in time, I had a really hard time prioritizing, especially prioritizing things that were going to be best for me. Whether that's certain tasks or creating like these capstone or keystone habits that allow you to perform better day to day. And so I had to create a system for myself so that I would be able to bring my best talents every day to my work, as well as take care of myself better.
Okay. And then, so how did that help you decide, okay, let me stop this and build my own website so that I can track more clients and make more money instead of just working on my client's website?
Well, it's not just about the website, right? Like you have to have your own presence out there. You have to have the things that you need done first so that you can better serve others. And how the move books came to be is that I needed to really get a hold of what my daily priorities were, because success comes down to your daily agenda. And you may have these great ideas of what you want to accomplish over the next year or even the next month, but you forget about those, you lose sight, you're holding on to a dream, and then it never happens. And so until you can correctly link that down to your day-to-day, it's just an idea or a fuzzy thought, and it doesn't actualize. And so for me personally, in that coffee shop moment you're talking about, I was like 6 months to a year in and scrambling to make sure all my clients were taken care of. And I wasn't taking care of myself or anything that I needed. And so that's when I realized I can't keep doing this every day. I have to get better at this.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of people in the fitness industry, fitness business owners that fall into that same boat. I know I did when I first opened Catalyst. I was so busy running Catalyst and wearing all the hats and making sure that my clients got trained and the trainers were taken care of and all of those things, that I didn't. I stopped meal prepping. I would skip workouts, and eventually I found out that I was, trying to pour from an empty cup. And I can't do that. I got to fill my cup up. And then I started meditating and using, this is my move book. This is version 2.0. This is, if I sold this on eBay, I could probably get some money for it because it's one of their original versions.
Uh-huh.
You can't find these anymore. But I started using the move books, and what I found is, like you said, you put it in quarters, right? You
Yeah,
call them sprints.
right.
And so this quarter, my overall goal by the end of this quarter is XYZ, right?
Hmm.
So what do I need to do this month to achieve that? And then break it down to this week, and then break it down to this day. So
Hmm.
it just helps me get focused on the big picture, but unpacking it all the way down to my daily routine. Because I just started reading that book, The World's Greatest Salesman. Have you ever read that?
No, but I've heard about it.
And so it talks about habits,
Yep.
and the difference between people who achieve their dreams and don't achieve their dreams, it's all comes down to habits. So you have to examine your habits. Is this habit going to get me closer to my goal? And if it's not, then I need to replace it. And so that's where I think the move books really come in handy, because it helps you see, even if you go back over the pages, it helps you see patterns, right? Patterns and habits that you can change.
Well, let me ask you this, Jim. What do you think is your top single habit that helps you continue to perform at your best?
My top single habit that I would say, that's a good question. Wait a minute, I'm supposed to be asking the questions here.
Hey,
My top, I would say, when I wake up in the morning, I I still do this, and you taught me this. I think it's the big three, right? Is that what you call them?
the top
The
five
top
every day?
five.
Yeah,
Top
yeah.
five, yes. So the top five. So realistically, I know that I can only get 5 things done every day, right? And most days I can get usually 3. So if I get 3 or 4 done, then that's good. So I wake up in the morning and I think, okay, today, these are my top 5 or top 3 or whatever. And that's what I'm going to try to get done today. And then I just focus on those, and anything that's not related to those, I don't deal with, or I push further, kick the can further up the road until it's time to deal with that. Otherwise, I find myself getting distracted. So I would say doing that consistently is probably one of my best good habits.
Let me know what you think of this. So since we did our initial pilot, what, 2 years ago?
Uh-huh.
Uh, there have been some trends that have emerged, and I'd like to run this past you to see if this resonates with you as well. So what
Mhm.
I found is that when people are using it on a regular basis, there's like 4 stages, right? The first stage is organizing. So you're going through, you're writing everything down, and you're organizing your day, organizing your month, etc. Right? The
Mhm.
second step is awareness. When you start to realize that that organization and paying attention to it, what you actually are or are not doing. So it could be you have terrible sleep habits, you're extremely optimistic and you think you can get 10 things done, you can only get 3,
Mhm.
or that you're spending your time and energy on things that really don't matter to you.
Right.
And then the third phase that we've been seeing is that there's like an optimization where you start to um, use that awareness to change how you direct your energy, because it's around
Mhm.
energy management above anything else. And then the fourth is more around that actualization where you're actually directing your energy every day in the areas that's most purposeful to you in your life. And I think that that's a lifelong battle. But what we've seen is those stages evolving when people are building these practices into their lives.
Yeah, I can see that, and that makes total sense to me, because I believe that only a habit can replace a habit. So, and we all have habits, right? We
Yeah.
don't think about, like, when we drive, well, for those of you who are still going to work, um, driving into work. Um, but when we drive home from work, we don't think about, oh, I got to turn here or I got to turn here. Most of the days we're, talking or listening to the radio or kind of thinking about our day in our head, and we're just on autopilot, right? Because we've developed a habit of driving home from work, right? And so we all have these habits that run our daily lives. They just run in the background. But if we don't examine them every once in a while and decide which ones we want to change, which ones we want to discard, which ones are not getting our closer to our goals, then we're never going to progress. And so when we identify a habit that is no longer moving us forward, then we have to change it, right? And that's where the awareness comes in. And then after the awareness comes in, it becomes energy management, because it's hard to change a habit. And
Yeah.
so then you have to really spend a lot of energy to concentrate and focus on changing that behavior, the actualization, like you said, and establishing that new habit. And all the research says it takes about 2 weeks. I think it takes a little bit longer than that.
Yeah.
But I think eventually then it becomes that habit that runs in the background and you don't have to spend so much energy in it. But initially, when you're changing habits, it takes a tremendous amount of awareness and a tremendous amount of energy.
I will tell you, Jim, one of the habits that I've realized that is the most productive for me is exercise.
Okay.
So, for instance, when I started coming to your gym, like I was coming, 3 days a week early in the
Uh-huh.
morning before my
Yeah.
work started. And that was something that I needed to do in order to get everything else done. And that was a action or a habit that helped me change certain things that I needed to change at that time. Where without that exercise and without that energy, it would have been difficult.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and I don't think it really matters what it is. I mean, I love it if it's exercise. If you want to come to Catalyst and exercise, by all means, do that. But I think there has to be a physical component to it as well. Because then it gets the blood flowing, it gets those endorphins going, and everything gets you awake, right, and ready to crush the day, right? So yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think exercise is one of my good habits, but I've been doing it so long that I don't even think about it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think about going to the gym or going to jujitsu or anything like that. It's just my body just takes me there.
What level are you at now? You just
Oh,
grow?
I'm so close to blue belt. I'm so
Really?
close. I think my instructor is just teasing me right now. So yeah, but I love it. When I leave jujitsu, I feel amazing. I really do. But so tell us more about these move books. So why did you decide to start to move forward with the move books?
Uh, it was time, I
Okay.
will say maybe part of it is I had been working on them for years. I think I first
Hmm.
started designing them back in 2012, right? And then I got
Hmm.
them to a certain point. In 2018 is when I started doing the pilot groups and really testing them with the quarterly sprints. My
Hmm.
team's been using them consistently since then. I've been using them consistently. And then 2019 was a very busy year for me. I had 3 teammates that had babies and I got married. And so it was just a year that wasn't appropriate to launch a new product. And then in 2020, with everything with the pandemic going on, I realized how important these really are,
Hmm.
because they've helped keep me and my team grounded to be the best we can be every day, so that we're not, focused on all of the things that could be or the negative energy. We were able to focus on what's in our control in our own lives and still depend on each other as growth partners, while it would have been very easy to fall into any other thought patterns otherwise. And so as we got into later in the year, it's like, okay, it's time. I just have to get it out there. I nitpick things and I want to wait until it's perfect, but I realized that it's more important to get the concept out there and continue to evolve it and create more of a growth community where people can be involved and help each other. And that I need to perhaps let go of some of my need for things to be perfect and just see how things go. So one of my quarterly goals for the fourth quarter of this year was to launch the Move book, and I've stuck to it. We launched the Kickstarter. We're only about $300 away from our goal. We're really close. It's only been out there for a week, and I'm really excited to see what the next steps are.
Yeah, and when we first started talking before we started recording, you said that you're actually using the Move books to
Yeah.
launch the Move books.
Yes.
So tell us about that.
So, I knew that it was one of the things that I needed to do at the end of the year. So it's built into as my quarterly goal. Each month I have listed what I need to get done in that time period. And then weekly it makes it into my top priorities. But the process of simply writing that down and talking about it helps tremendously. If you're not writing it down and getting it out of your head, you're not having the conversations with other people that help build the momentum to get it there. The other things tend to take priority.
Yeah. I agree, because I know my problem, and the thing that my team yells at me the most is that I have so many irons in the fire that I'm literally like that dog on up, chasing squirrels or the next shiny thing or whatever, because I have so many irons in the fire. And so if I can write it down, and most importantly, communicate it with the people that are going to be involved with it, so that we're all on the same page and moving forward and working together, where it's just not me kind of piecemealing it together or kind of telling people on a need to know basis. Then it becomes frustrating, it gets bogged down and stagnant, and then I forget about it and all of these other things, and then it becomes another dead and dying project. So if I can use the Move book and write it down and follow up on it and even delegate it, right?
Yeah.
Then it begins to take on a life of its own.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So you've had a lot. 2019, and then 2020 were busy years for you. So tell the listeners, like, some of the best things that your team or your business has gotten out of using the Move books consistently.
First and foremost, culture, creating a community of growth partners. Our conversations within our business are much different than any other team I've been on. We share our wins, both personal and professional, and we also share weekly what we could be doing better. And that creates an environment where people don't have to be afraid to fail, but we can come up alongside each other and help each other solve problems or make recommendations. So everyone in my company is like having conversations about their energy management, which is probably not typical, but especially we found it very helpful during quarantine because we were talking about, have we been working out? Are we getting outside? Are we getting enough energy? Are we eating right? And these are things that they're bringing up, saying that they need to do better over that time period, where, those things in a normal environment would typically be, are you hitting your sales quota, et cetera. But those things that are underneath the surface are what support everything else that a person can do. And I may be a little optimistic, but I believe that people want to do a good job. They want to do their best. And so the more that you can provide a tool for them to help create their own framework so they could create their own personal excellence, then you're creating something special with your team.
Yeah, but you have to live that message too. They have to see that you're doing it. It's got to be, do as I'm doing, not as I say.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Well, that
All right. Well,
actually,
so go ahead.
funny you bring that up, but I was telling you about the other project too, in our
Yes.
book, What Drives Winning Environments.
Yes.
So uh, funny enough, like there's one of the major sections in here is about modeling. So it's about how you define, manage, and model the expectations to your team. And modeling is by far the hardest because your actions speak louder than your words and everything else.
It's also the most powerful.
Yes.
Yeah, whether you're a parent or the owner of your business, whatever leadership role that you're in, right?
Right.
Modeling is really powerful, and I'll give you a perfect example. Like I'm still playing hockey. Shh, don't tell anybody. I wear a mask. I'm a goalie, so nobody's around me. But anyway, so we had a playoff game, and we lost badly,
Yeah.
and I didn't play very well, and so everybody was upset. So we go in the locker room, and the guy who runs the team comes in, huffing and puffing, doesn't say a word, gets undressed, throws his stuff in his bag, and walks out. And my first thought was, I don't want to play for a guy like that, you know? So I quit the team right then and there,
Yeah.
but I mean, that's the point. It's like a lot of time, I know when I first started my business, I didn't see myself as a leader. I saw myself more as a boss, as an owner. This is my company. This is my baby. None of you guys fuck it up. But I had to realize that I am a leader and I have to lead my team. And
Yeah.
so part of that is my behavior, right? And modeling that behavior. So let's jump into the what drives winning in the environment. Cause I know when you first started What Drives Winning, it's actually a really cool program. I mean, you guys were able to get all of these high level coaches, both in college Division I, pros, from all different sports, to talk about developing a winning culture. And it's not about X's and O's. So, and you had some big name coaches. I mean, you had Pete Carroll, you had Mike Krzyzewski, you had some big name coaches involved in this program, and probably still do. So, tell us a little bit about the evolution of the environment and where that came from.
So What Drives Winning Environments is our fourth book.
Oh,
Uh,
wow. Holy smokes, I'm
we've
behind.
been busy. We've been busy since
Yes.
2015.
Yeah.
Yeah. So our first conference, What Drives Winning, was in 2015. And that's one of our larger ones where we had a lot of really big names involved, like Billy Donovan and a lot of people that came into town. But the overall concept is that character is what character is what drives the process, which drives results. So it's all about developing the individual character skills that each person on your team has and inspiring them to personal excellence. Because, if every member on your team is hardworking and has all of these characteristics, then your team is going to perform better. But it's about that daily process, not about just aiming for the result. So it's really about shifting your focus day to day as a leader on what you are, on what you're focusing on and what you're focusing on with your team.
Okay. And where does environments come into that?
So the evolution of the books has been what drives winning, what's really important, what drives winning teams, and now what drives winning environments.
Okay.
And what's really important is more for the leader or the coach that's in a really high profile situation where you're really striving for excellence, and you can get these blinders on and you get to that stage of excellence in your life and realize that maybe you're chasing society's values instead of your own. And it uncovers stories from some championship coaches and how they've navigated it. So it's really fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
What drives winning teams is around creating personal growth opportunities within your teams. And it goes through the story of Gonzaga men's basketball and Oregon women's basketball, and how Brett Ledbetter, who is the founder, worked with those teams over a period of time to help them create cohesion through growing together. And now what drives winning environments is around how to define, manage, and model the expectations of your program so that you can create these standards and have everyone live up to it, to really ultimately create a culture where everyone can do their best work.
I really like that. And I like that it's something that you have to do every day, because consistency is so important. I think that has to be the first habit you develop, is consistency, no matter what it is. And then the story that I remember that always drives that home to me was that story you told about Mike Krzyzewski when he's coaching the dream team
Yeah.
and Seoul. So you want to, and that goes right into the environments, correct?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
actually in the book. Yeah.
Okay. So you want to tell that story to the listeners?
Sure. So you say Mike Krzyzewski, Coach K.
Coach K.
Yeah. No, same thing. It's just here that way.
Okay.
Coach K was coaching the Olympic team, and he told us in an interview, one of the first things he did had nothing to do with how their practice was going to run or what they were going to focus on or winning. It had to do with how they were going to live together. So he had everyone jot down, what are the standards you want to bring to this team? And then he collected all of those, and they talked about them together, and they decided, this is how we are going to coexist together so that we can get to our greatest achievement. And he said that that's the best team building exercise he's ever done. And I think one of the reasons is that when you're creating standards, you're creating inspiration that people want to live up to. Where if you're creating rules, like those are things that are meant to like hold you down or keep you confined. And standards can be owned by everyone. They can participate in it and be proud of it.
So they're aspirational, not necessarily punitive.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that's really important. I think that was really smart of Coach K, because you have some massive egos on that team, right? And I know in the fitness business, there's massive egos. Well, probably every industry, but I can speak to the fitness industry directly. You always have some young trainer who is like, I'm going to be the best trainer and all of this stuff, and wants to reinvent the wheel and do all of these things. But if they can't be a part of a team, then they're not going to be successful. So that's a great way to get everybody to buy in, and without it coming from the top down, but it kind of comes from a grassroots effort, which I think is a little bit more powerful.
Yeah. So let's just use this as an example, Jim. Like say at Catalyst, we actually talked to the team about the standards. And I think one of them was have each other's back.
Right.
And it's a completely different situation when they say, this is the way we want to be and we want our team to be, where we're going to support each other and have each other's back, than saying you have to fill in these slots for them. You have to take your time off and fill in these slots because I said so. Right. And so what happens is in situation one, they have a standard that they want to live up to, or let's say it's even don't be late. This is our Catalyst way and how we want to exist together. This is our level of excellence. Option two, you're telling them you have to fill in this slot, but in the first option, they were covering each other's back before you even had to be involved.
Right. Yeah. And then in the second one, then I got to step in and I got to be the heavy, I got to be the bad guy. And then they show up to work and they're already pissed off and possibly resentful. And that's not a situation where they're going to give their best performance. Yeah, right. I would agree. Yeah. And we've all done that. It's like what somebody told me, it's like when they hear an employee say, well, this is the way we're doing it, then they know that the culture is working. When they hear them say, well, this is what they told me I had to do, then the culture isn't working.
Right.
Right. Yeah. I like that. So you have the move books and you have What Drives Winning Environments. I need to catch up. I have the original What Drives Winning book. I may sell that one on eBay for some money too, because I don't know if you can get those. But anyway, so I'm building my memorabilia collection.
Nice.
Um, so I always and I want to get back to What Drives Winning and the course and the move books and the GoFundMe. But before we do that, I'm going to put you through the 3 questions that I have every guest. And I know you've probably answered some of these before, but it's been a minute since you've been on the podcast. So I'm going to
Yes.
see if you have any updated answers. So my first one, and COVID is exempt from all of these because nobody saw this coming. So what has been your most successful failure? And by that, I mean, at the time, it seemed like a devastating loss that you didn't think you were going to be able to recover from, but you were able to take life lessons from it that propelled you to greater success down the road.
That is a good one. I mean, man, I just don't know if I want to go there.
Oh, that's okay.
Well,
You want to
my
pick
my
another?
most successful failure
Mm-hmm.
was trying to have a um, relationship and a business at the same time that wasn't easy. And luckily, like, we were able to work through it, and we're great friends now, and we're still building. But that whole process of not understanding where to draw boundaries and where to create healthy systems for myself, both from an energy and mental and emotional standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
like those, that was a huge failure. But without that failure, all of these other things wouldn't exist, because you have to have, like, it's kind of like the story of charcoal gets pressed so hard until it becomes a diamond. Like,
Yes.
until you have those times where it's extremely trying and you feel like you start to hit rock bottom, like, you don't come out the other side and see the beauty in the experience.
Right. Exactly. Well, I think the most beautiful things or the most powerful lessons comes out of the worst of times, or the worst of days. So, okay. So then it taught you how to kind of stick to those boundaries and
Yes,
take care of and kind of protect your own space and your own needs in a professional environment.
exactly.
Yeah, I think that's really important.
And I mean, I will say too, there's, I mean, with a lot going on and everything growing so quickly, right? Because I was building Move at the same time that I was building What Drives Winning. So I have 2 companies that were essentially launching at the same time, that we've been growing over this time period. So
Mhm.
it makes it challenging at times. I mean, I will say, when we're running a conference where we have 1,000 people showing up, and I'm managing everything from the actual event management to the presentations to, speaker travel and all of these things, and
Mhm.
I'm overseeing all of that. Sometimes my electric bill doesn't get paid. And it has nothing to do with, it's just, you go through those situations and then you realize you have to build better systems into how you operate so that you can perform at the highest level in all these areas of your life. And then you have to also recognize you have to give yourself grace too.
Yes, I like that. Give yourself grace. I like that because I think a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of type A personalities, I think they feel obligated to the grind, right? It's like if they're not grinding, if they're not working 12, 16-hour days, then they're being lazy. Then they're, slacking off or doing something like that. So there's this kind of ode to the grind, if you will.
Right.
And then they don't, and then when they fail or something doesn't go their way or they collapse because they're exhausted or their lights get turned off because they forgot to pay their bill, then they just unmercifully flog themselves and say, oh, you're a failure. How could you do this? How could you let this happen? God, you're not the person I thought you were. Like all of these tapes start to play in their head. Can you tell that I've been in this situation? But so I think it's important to realize that too, that you don't have to be a slave to the grind, and you don't need to grind to be successful, and that you should give yourself some grace and change that internal dialogue a little bit. And I think that's where the move books come in. And I also think where What Drives Winning in that environment comes in, and also modeling that behavior. So yeah, I think that's very important.
I I've had to make recovery as part of my um, to-do list, for lack of a better way to put it, and that's why it's incorporated in the move book as well, is so that I'm intentional about my recovery, like my sleep, my eating habits, and my exercise.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, meditation is key, but
Mhm.
meditation is a tool to kind of get me to that grounded place. For some
Yeah.
other people, it may be whatever. I used to be tied to meditation. Now it's whatever gets you there. All right. And then my next question is, since you've been involved with Move and What Drives Winning, what is the biggest surprise that you've had to deal with that you didn't see coming?
Mm, these are good questions, and I didn't get prepped for this.
It's better if you don't.
Oh man, biggest surprise I didn't see coming. I will say in Move, right now we have 8 people on the team, but last year we had 7, and 3 of them got pregnant in the same year. I did
Mm,
not see that coming. And um, that was, it was great for the team, but it was also very challenging, as someone who I feel like I am leading the team, and I feel like it's my name that people are trusting in the beginning from the relationships that I had originally established. And so I felt an intense responsibility to make sure that everything went well. But everyone had each other's back, and it was a good team building experience as well. Um, I think for other big surprises is just there's surprises all the time with What Drives Winning.
yeah.
And it's not just from a content perspective, it's opportunities arise. And so, this summer we're like, hey, should we do a conference or not? And then we plan within 4 weeks a workshop in Dallas. And then, now we're developing a course, and we're doing things on these very short timelines, and innovating very quickly. So there's always a surprise there.
Yes. Yeah. You have to pivot. Everybody's had to pivot in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's been a ton of surprises. Okay. And then my last question is, where do you go for personal and professional development?
I do a lot of reading. Um, I will also say that we have a very large bank of materials through What Drives Winning that are very helpful. So we have hundreds of interviews with coaches and professional athletes that have really helped me frame perspective. And then also, I am always exploring how to deepen my spirituality as well, because I believe that the greater relationship that you can have with your creator, or um, the universe, or whatever your beliefs are, the
Mm-hmm.
more you can understand what your unique talents are. And, you talk about being grounded.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if we're all going through life figuring out what we're built for, and then how we can bring those talents to the world, then you're going to be, your life will be full of more joy, because you're doing what you're built for. Um,
Yes.
so that constant exploration of trying to always figure that out for myself as well. So I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it does. I mean, because the way I see it is that you have to listen, you have to develop some way to listen to your soul.
Yeah.
And then start to act on that. Because if you I think there's a lot of people that ignore what their soul is trying to tell them, and then they wind up extremely unhappy, even though they had, from the outside, may look extremely successful. Like, look at this Zappos dude. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, that's a perfect example. I mean, this guy was, sold his company for $1 billion and didn't. I mean, he was exploring, but it doesn't seem like he was grounded very well. But who knows? I mean, I think the bottom line is what I got out of that is you have to find some way to listen to your soul and start to act on that. I think that's the only way that you can really find happiness in this
Yeah,
life. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Other thing, I listened to How I Built This podcast a lot.
Oh, I like that one. Well,
Yeah.
and that's about these big companies and how they started it, like
Yes.
1-800 Got Junk, Lululemon, all of those. Yeah.
My favorite is Zumba, if you've ever listened to it.
Okay, I'll have to check that episode out because I've listened to several episodes. That's a good
Yeah.
podcast. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And then where can people find more information about you, about the move books, about what drives winning, about the course, the GoFundMe, all that good stuff?
Yes. So Movebook is on Kickstarter right now through December 18th. So only about a week and a half left. After that, it will be available on movebook.com. You can learn more about what we do with our marketing company at moveideas.com. And then you can learn about everything we're doing with What Drives Winning at whatdriveswinning.com. And our first workshop, What Drives Winning Environments, will be released this Sunday.
Okay, awesome. Then all those links will be in the show notes. Go to Trainer Jim, click on this episode, trainerjim.net. Click on this episode of the podcast and all the links to find out more about Lisa, Move Books, What Drives Winning. All of those good things will be right there. So Lisa, it's always a pleasure. It's always good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Yeah. And tell Addie I said hi, and
Oh,
you have a good rest of your week.
thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
And then Lisa, what I'll do is I have a lot of episodes in the can, but since this is time sensitive, what I'm going to do is kind of rush this one out. I'll start editing and getting it prepped for release next Tuesday. So
Awesome.
it'll be in time for like all the GoFundMe and all
Yeah.
that good stuff and New Year's
And
resolutions.
you can use my answer. I just wanted to make sure I phrased it in the right way.
Yeah, I got it. As soon as you said it, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, we have some HIPAA codes we got to follow here.
Well, it's I mean, to be honest with you, like I've even thought about how that particular story could be a TED Talk one day because of you come to a realization of there's certain things that we're attracted to each other as humans, and you have to judge what kind of attraction that is. And sometimes it's not meant to be romantic and we misjudged it. So
Wow,
um,
good.
instead we were supposed to build something.
Okay, gotcha. That was
You
your
have
soul contract.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. All right, cool. All right, well, thank you. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you, Jim.
All right, take care.
Need anything, let me know.
Okay, bye.
All right, bye.